Hello guys, and welcome to a new video of Python tutorials for beginners series. In this video we will be covering how to create files from Python, how to write into them, and how to read the content of those files in Python. And by the end of the video we will be building a project based on what we have learned throughout the video. So let's directly get started by creating a text file, and I will call it test.txt for now. And as this is a text file, let's just put in some infill text in it. And this text is actually the content of this file. And in Python, we are able to read the content of this file. So let's create a file variable, and I will call it f for now. And by using the open function in Python, we are able to open any file we want. We just need to pass in the name of the file, and in our case, it was test.txt. Then we want to pass in the mode we want to open this file with. And there are many modes in Python, including reading, writing, and appending modes that we will cover in this video, but you can find the whole list of modes, and there are many modes you can open a file with, as you can see in this screen. But in this video, we will only cover reading, writing, and appending modes in Python. So for reading, we will just have to give R. R stands for read. And now we have opened the test.txt and stored it into the variable named f. As we have opened this file with the R mode, we are able to use the f.read function or method, which will return us the content of the file, and we'll be storing this content into a variable. And I called it content. You can call it whatever you want. And let's actually print this content variable and see what the content of this file is. And here you see we are getting initial text, which was exactly the same as what we have written inside this file. If we added some secondary text here, and let's just add it, and when we run this file again, we're now able to see the whole content again. So what this read method basically does is return the whole content, and it only works when you're opening the file with the R mode here. There's also another method you can use when you open a file with the R method, and that is called readlines. Readlines will basically return you a list containing of each row inside the file we are opening. And let's run to see the results more clearly. And here we are able to see a list which consists of elements that are the content of each row. And you might be wondering what this \n is, and this basically means a new line. And as we're getting into a new line at this first row here, it adds a \n as well. If you pressed enter here and added a new line here as well, you would be seeing same one next to the secondary text as well. Also, another good practice you might want to keep in mind is after we open this file, we can also close this file with the close method on the file variable we have created here. And closing this file doesn't change much in your program, but it basically helps you save some memory space while your program is running. And this is considered a best practice, so you're not required to do this, but it will basically help your program run better. And this is basically how the read mode works. So let's just take a look at the write mode. And this is another very popular mode you would probably want to use mostly. And just to prove a point, as we have opened this with the write mode, we want to be able to use the method readlines because we haven't opened with the read mode. And as you can see, it's not readable because we haven't opened it with the mode read. However, with the write mode, what we can do is f.write, and this basically allows us to write anything we want to write. So let's say writing from Python, and when we run this code, the code actually ran successfully. And when we take a look at the test.txt, all the content got removed, and the write mode actually wrote writing from Python inside the text file. Also, you can write into a file in a loop. So let's just create a simple loop that goes from 0 to 9, and we will actually write the iteration number or I into the file, and we actually have to pass in a string type into this write method. So we will convert I into a string, and now it's converted to a string. We might also want to put a tab between each of the numbers. And now let's run the file, and here we see each of the numbers are written inside the file. Also, we would maybe want to put a new line here, and this \n will basically function just like you pressed an enter. And when we run this, here the output is just like what we wanted. However, with this write mode, each time when we run the code, we're seeing the same output and nothing is actually getting added into the file. Actually, when we run the code, the content of this file is getting removed. This part of the code is writing into the file. However, we might want to add to the end of the file each time we run the code. And for this, we have a mode called A, which stands for append. And let's actually see what this append is doing. And the append mode uses the write method, just like the write mode as well, because it's also writing into the file, but it's not resetting the file, it's just adding to the end of the file each time we run the code. Alright, now the content of the file is just like before. Let's just remove all this to have a fresh start. And let's run the code. Okay, the code is done running. So we run the code a single time, and here is the first line of code we wanted to write into it. Let's just run the code once more. And here now, even though we're just writing it one time, when we run the code twice, now we have 2 lines of text inside our text file. Now if we run the code once more, we're now going to see 3 lines of code, or 3 lines of text, sorry, inside our text file. And this append mode will basically work like this. Each time you run the code, it will add to the end of the file. Great! I hope you were able to now understand the differences between different modes of opening a file inside Python. Now, I just want to mention a very useful way of opening files, which is called context managers. Now, you might find closing this file here useless, and you might not just want to write it each time you're opening a file, and this is where context managers come in. By using context managers, actually I'll show you how to use them. You don't have to use this line of code here. What you have to do is use a keyword called with, and this basically helps you open a file within a context manager, and you'll use the variable name you want to call, and you use f, so we will be opening this file as f, or you can use whichever variable name you use. And after that, we will indent each lines of code we had for this file. By using this with keyword here, we actually don't have to use the close method, because when we want to write a code related to the file, we just have to indent and write our code, and when we're actually not indented, we're already out of the opened file here, so it's already closed automatically. And when we try to access the variable f here, and let's try to access it, we will get an error because the f variable here is only accessible inside this block of opened file. And in this way, context managers are really useful. They also reduce the lines of code we have to write. As you can see, we're just able to write into our file within 2 lines, whereas we had to write at least 3 or 4 lines with the method I showed you before. And actually, let's now build a project by using what we have learned about working with files in Python. So I'll write a number between 1 and 10 inside this file, which is 5. And what we will do is we will generate a random number in Python, and we will compare this random number with the number in the text file and compare which one of them is greater. And then we will write the output inside the file to work with both reading and writing a file inside Python. And let's actually import random, because we will be generating a random number, and we will be using a mode called R+, which basically helps us both read and write into a file within a single mode. And with this mode, we are able to use the read method. Let's read the content of the file, and let's put number. And we will convert this number actually to an integer, because we know that 5 is actually an integer, and we are able to convert it. If there was actually some text that were not able to get converted into an integer, we would be getting an error. But right now we won't get any errors. And now let's create a random number, and we will create a random integer between 1 and 10. And right now let's compare these numbers. If the random number is greater, we want to write the random number is greater, and let's say if the number inside the file is greater than the random number we have generated, let's say you want to write the number in file, actually it is 5, so we can use just 5, is greater than the random number. Let's also use 5 here as well, than 5. And else, this else case only covers if they are equal, so we can write f dot, we can write it f dot right. The random number is 5. Right, because if it wasn't 5, it would be either greater or less than the random number we generated. Let's now run the code. Actually, let's also write what the random number was in case it was not 5. And we will do this by creating an f string. And with f string, we are able to actually integrate any variables into our strings. And now we will be writing these inside the output as well. So let's just see the output inside the text file. And okay, it worked, but this isn't looking good. So let me just fix it by adding new lines inside new lines to format the text better. And okay, now it should look better. And here we see the random number is greater than 5, and the random number was 5. Now if we wanted to run the code again, we have to just leave 5 here again, and let's just run the code. And this time the random number was 8, and again it's greater than 5. And these were the most useful file methods you could use as a beginner in Python. If you're looking for more advanced tutorials on working with files in Python, please let me know in the comments below, and I will also leave some useful additional sources in the description below related to working with files in Python. And if you found this video helpful, please leave a like and share it with your friends. Thank you for watching until the end of the video, and I hope to see you in the next one.